had an experience where I was laying in bed, I was wide awake. There was a light on by the bed, and I just felt this pull upward, just sort of like I was moving upward, even though my physical body stayed on the bed the entire time. And I knew something was happening. Let's just try to relax. Let's just try to not freak out. And I saw just like I would see those previous visions. I saw very clearly a control panel and a window in front of me, and I could see through the window a desert landscape. And I saw hands on this control panel, and I started seeing particles. I started seeing other landscapes. I saw several things, and it was a warm feeling. It was a warm, positive feeling. I've said this on other podcasts, but it felt like I was getting 5 Reiki sessions all at the same time.
Hello and welcome back to Paranormal Perspectives. My name is Stan, and tonight we're going to have a very interesting conversation about extraterrestrial contact, and that's a very hard thing to pronounce in my accent. And so yeah, tonight we're talking to Chris Berryman, who is the author of N1 Sessions. Hi Chris, thanks for being here.
Stan,
I'm really excited
thanks
to
for
talk
having
to you.
me.
It's a pleasure having you here. Your book is quite interesting because my best understanding is it's a channeled message from beyond, and I'd love to go into the details with you, but ultimately it talks about the possibility of life out there. That's one part of it, though, but also the fact that we can learn things from the beyond, as we seem to be entering a stage at this point in human history where our consciousness is expanding, our understanding of the universe seems to be unveiled rather than almost discovered. It seems like it was discovered a long time ago, but more publicly it's being kind of accepted now to talk about these kind of things, whereas, say, I don't know, 50 years ago, it would be kind of seen as a joke, really, or just sci-fi. And yeah, I feel like this call is on the wave of this new expansion of consciousness, really. It's great to have this opportunity to talk to you and get a better understanding of kind of what's going on, what your book's about, and maybe where we're going. So for people that don't know you, Chris, tell us a bit about yourself. Where did you grow up? What excites you? What interests you? And what got you into the paranormal
Sure.
world?
Yes, I grew up in the United States, in Michigan, where I live again, even though I've lived on both coasts. Yes, I always had an interest in sort of the things that I still, my main focus is still film and theater. I grew up, doing theater and being involved in choir and music and things like that. And then I think when I was in my I'd say my mid, maybe when I was like 24, I started reading tarot cards, and I started getting more of an interest in things that are
Mm.
metaphysical. And I ended up living in New York City, and I took workshops in working with my angels and inner guidance and many other things too. Meditation. I jumped around to many different meditation circles and spiritual healing circles. So ever since I was in my adulthood, I think I've had some interest in things, the beyond, the transcendent, I guess you'd say. But not until just before the pandemic did, even though I think it's something I believed in, since then has this connection with extraterrestrial or extra dimensional beings come forth, and that's with hence writing these books that I've written.
Okay, that's interesting. So it seems like you had an interest in the, as you say, metaphysical world. I love that word. So it seems like you were kind of already open to there being potentially more. And but your interest, what was your, I suppose, mission in your interest? Was it like just more of just of a fascination, or did you just kind of did you have like a feeling inside that you wanted to? You felt like there was more to what you are or what this life is, I suppose. Was there like a mission through that?
I think I felt some pull, and I think that was I wanted to learn how to experience this non-physical dimension in some way and have a connection to my guidance. Or I think it started with angels, the idea of angels. I wanted to be able to communicate with angels, and that's what I initially
Mhm.
started learning to do, and also learning sort of psychic work, I guess you'd say, learning to use psychic gifts. And I think I was raised Catholic, and I loved in church. I loved the candles. I loved the music, anything that was ritual, anything that sort of brought me out of the reality that I experienced day to day, something that evoked something bigger. And I think that was what I've always been interested in. Now, the experience of writing the books, Flying Saucer Visions, and also the upcoming book, the N1 Sessions, those experiences that I had, I did not choose to have. They happened to me as opposed to me seeking them. Interested in experiencing some sort of beyond, some sort of experience that was not in the day-to-day life that I had known so far. And is in as far as I had been raised Catholic. I loved the candles in mass and the music, anything that sort of brought me, that evoked something bigger and something ritualistic or something beyond. So those were the experiences that I had. I continued doing that, but I didn't experience anything with extraterrestrial or extra-dimensional until 2020. The experiences started happening in 2019. And those experiences, those sensory experiences, were not something that I went out and sought. That was something that happened to me. It happened to me, and it kind of ramped up. And that's what eventually led me to write the books, Flying Saucer Visions and the upcoming N1 Sessions.
Okay, it's interesting that, because it seems to be like a lot of people that I've spoken to around the 2020 mark in our history seem to be like a catalyst, I suppose, in maybe understanding oneself or understanding what's going out there in the world. I know a lot of people that have been through a very almost spiritual change in their life. It could be through a loss of a job as well. That could be a trigger, or loss of a partner or a loved one. It seems to be a lot of people went through that time. So why do you think you went through that change at that point? Basically, like, do you feel like you were given a mission, I suppose?
I'm not sure if it's something that I signed up for in some previous existence. I'm not sure, but I did have a lot going on in my life at that time that was sort of catastrophic on a personal level. I wouldn't say it was more of just a relationship. It was a mess. My personal life was kind of a mess, I guess you'd just say. And I took a workshop in 2019 with an energy healing workshop, and during that class, I started seeing geometry. It started with geometry, and then it moved into very unique, strange machinery that I had never seen before. And these visual impressions continued and started getting stronger, like they would just be there when I would close my eyes at night. And eventually I started seeing what looked like flying saucers and light particles and what looked like portals. And then I started seeing eyes and faces. And this was when I started getting scared. I remember some of them being human and some of them being non-human. I think I screamed out when I realized that some of them had like a slanted pupil, like sort of reptilian looking. I think that scared me a little bit. But they kept showing up in a rather respectful manner. So eventually I'm trying to give you the cliff notes on this because it was gradual what happened. And eventually I had an experience where I was laying in bed. I was wide awake. There was a light on by the bed, and I just felt this pull upward, just sort of like I was moving upward, even though my physical body stayed on the bed the entire time. And I knew something was happening. I just told myself, okay, let's just try to relax. Let's just try to not freak out. And I saw just like I would see those previous visions, I saw very clearly a control panel and a window in front of me, and I could see through the window a desert landscape. And then I saw hands on this control panel, and I started seeing particles. I started seeing other landscapes. I saw several things, and it was a warm feeling. It was a warm, positive feeling. I've said this on other podcasts, but it felt like I was getting 5 Reiki sessions all at the same time. Then I started hearing music, and it was this positive feeling, positive message in the music. And so that experience, that journey of sorts, that was the foundation of my first book, Flying Saucer Visions, which is a an illustrated sci-fi offering for ages 10 and up. Sort of keeps in this dreamy make-believe sort of realm. And then eventually these visions that kept appearing, I finally just confronted them. And I said, what do you want? What is it that you want? In a being who identified himself as N1, I started hearing the conversation with this being. And that led to that ever deepening conversation led to my upcoming book, The N1 Sessions, which is a nonfiction collection of metaphysical essays, short metaphysical essays that are organized by season. And so that's how I got introduced to N1 and this collective that he works with.
That sounds absolutely incredible. Because it's like I would think about if we were to be contacted by an advanced species, there would need to be some sort of intermediary kind of point where they show us things that are tangible to us in our time, but would still seem futuristic or otherworldly. So it seems to be them showing you the control panel, maybe the view through the window, and at least beginning to show you who they are is actually quite, in a way, a nice handshake, I suppose, rather than throwing everything at you all at once. So yeah, as you say, it does seem to show their intention. So my question to you is, like, from those initial meetings and communications, like, why do you think they chose to speak to you specifically?
That is a good question, and a lot of people ask me that. I do think that it had something to do with the fact that I was available. Like I don't have any children. I don't have I live alone. I was checking in on my mother who was in her 80s at that time and seeing friends and family, as we could during the COVID lockdown periods. But I had time on my hand and I had space to sort of work through these experiences. Maybe they knew because I was involved. What I do is involved in theater production and creative projects. Maybe they knew I would want to turn it into something as well. I chose to do book form, to put it into books. I'm not really sure. I might have some connection with these beings, this civilization from some other time, but I can't really. I'm not sure about that as of yet. So that's just sort of my speculation about why they chose me.
No, that's fair enough. Because it seems like, to me, this is me meeting you for the first time today. Anyway, you seem like a very friendly, open person, but I can tell there's a creative touch to you. So I wonder if these, because I've spoken to channelers before, and they also seem to be very creative people. I've spoken to playwrights who've channeled other entities. One man specifically channeled the spirit of William Shakespeare and wrote an entirely new play based on that.
Oh,
He was
wow.
previously very creative, so I wonder if the creative mind is already attuned to different vibrations, maybe higher vibrations, maybe, I don't know. But
Right. Well,
either way, yeah,
that is
I
really
can see maybe why
interesting.
they maybe chose you at this point. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting observation because, a lot of times people get that word squeams people out a little bit. Channeling, I think it invokes, I don't know, like another
Mm.
era, I love the new age or something. And but it's a mind body process for me. It's rather simple. I did have some training in it before, but I had to sort of modify my practice in it to hold the frequency, hold the energy of these beings, because it's rather high frequency and they want to talk for about 15-20 minutes at a time, it seems like. So I had to sort of adjust things and find a method that works for me, I guess you'd say. So that's what I did. And then the book came out of that.
It sounds like quite a skill to develop.
Well, it that was not the hard part. Yeah.
Yeah, and
The
it's
hard part
incredible,
was
really.
writing the preface and also putting it into English because I usually, usually it's spoken first through the method that I use into, my phone or whatever. And then I transcribe it. And so I have to sort of sit with that in
Yeah,
that frequency for some time because written English is a little different than spoken English. So I having to live in that the energy and these kind of high concepts for
hmm
long periods
hmm
of time. That can be a little draining. So I have to take it slow and rest while I'm.
yeah. I imagine it takes a lot of energy to do that. And from your understanding so far, like, who are you speaking to when you do channel, and where do they come from?
These beings who, and they do speak through me when I do these sessions, or they write through me. Sometimes I use that method. Uh, They say that they are from the area and that they live in a mostly in a non-physical dimension, but they do have the ability to, they call it, present themselves in form. But this realm that they live in, it's located near the stars Safe and Sirius A, so sort of on the outer limits of the Orion constellation. That's where they identify as being from. Yeah, in that
Mhm.
they're a collective of different beings from mostly from Sirius in Orion, but from
Gosh,
all over the galaxy.
that's incredible. So ultimately, with them speaking through you, like, what is their mission? Are they here to raise awareness? Just say that, hey, just to let you know, we're here. We're here if you need you. Sorry, if you need us. Or is it? Do they feel
Yes,
like they have a
the
greater
mission
mission
that they
here?
describe, and yes, they are here to say hello to at this time of transformation and a lot of things sort of coming to a head. There's a lot of we have the ability to express ourselves on topics now without fear of being thrown in jail or burned at the stake or anything like that. And because of this openness, and there's a lot of people are having these experiences and these interactions,
Hmm.
whether they're physical or more energetic. But at this time, they want to speak directly and clearly about topics that are on the table for our planet as well as the greater existence. And they're interested, they say this in the N1 sessions, they're interested in rediscovering the original purpose of this planet, which they say was to be a place where many different races, many different star races,
Hmm.
and many different species of both humans, non humans, animals could intermingle and interact. They wanted to try to re envision and go back to that purpose for Earth. So that's one of the things they're most interested in.
That's fascinating. So, okay, so you were saying at one point in Earth's history, it was once a meeting place between different species, and almost like Constantinople. If you think about that was one of the first great empires which brought the world together through the sea. So that's interesting. So my question to you would be like, do you know why it no longer was that meeting point where just
I can't,
humans
I can't say for
overtook?
sure, but what is hinted at in the N1 sessions, and there's other researchers and other mediums and other writers who talk about this, different ideas connected to this as well. But in the N1 sessions, what is suggested is that at one time, a long time ago, yes, there was an intermingling between Earth humans and star beings, and this can be, I think this can be traced in the stories that the indigenous cultures share and their histories of star ancestors and other stories
Mm,
like that, but perhaps through a series of natural catastrophes, and also through the visitations from other groups of beings from different parts of the universe, or maybe even other universes here on Earth, that didn't have the best, didn't have the purest motives
mhm.
for our species, and that is talked about in the N1 sessions as well. So sort of a a pull happened, a overtaking happened, and that is still sort of being fought or still being drawn out right now. And the planet seems to be in dire straits right now in a lot of ways, and the violence seems to be ramping up, and seems to be a threat of World War III happening. So perhaps this is coming to a head, or it's coming full circle, so to speak.
Yes, I know a lot of people that have spoken about the current change that's happening and why it's happening. It seems to be almost a retaliation to the waking up of many humans all over Earth, really. It seems to be like the old world is going, actually, look, I don't like you doing this because you're becoming more free, you're becoming more open and evolving. We need to bring you back to fear again, because fear is a
Absolutely.
great way to control beings, whether they be human or other things throughout the galaxies. I'd be interested to see what anyone has to say about that, really, and also with anyone talking about the change that's happening to Earth. Also, like, what other species are out there? Basically, what other
Well,
races
in the
have
N1
skin in the
sessions,
game, so
the
to speak?
source talks about that there was two races in particular that he talks about are the Syrians, light beings from Sirius A, and the Pleiadians, who perhaps you've heard of, and there are other people who channel different Pleiadian beings. There's also the phenomena of Billy
I
Meineer,
have, yeah.
and I believe Switzerland, and his whole experience in the 1970s. So they talk about those two races who were actually the maybe some of the initiators, some of the original beings who visited here um, in a long time ago in ancient human history, and that they are sort of taking the lead in our in this new era of communication with us, and new new models and new paradigms that are being created for us to learn from. That seems to be coming through different mediums, or coming through different teachers and writers here on Earth. This renaissance that we're having right now feels to me like it's this cultural renaissance, this consciousness renaissance. It feels to me that it is a collaboration between star beings and us and our species here on this planet.
Yeah, I'm really glad you said the word Renaissance, because that's exactly what I've been saying. Interestingly enough, like the last couple of years, that I do feel like we're entering a time where you think about the Renaissance, about Italian art back in the day, about the changing in which we record history ultimately, as in visually, like through our art and our understanding of science and technology, and that was a big booster. But now it seems to be we're going through a booster, essentially a catalyst, a catalyzing moment, where it's about consciousness, it's about awakening, it's about literally, it's a light being switched on. Like, we spent so much of our human history looking into a dark room, essentially. It's the moment that you flick on the light switch, you begin to realize how big the room is that you're in and what's in that room. So I was brought up on the idea of extraterrestrial life being like a joke, really. Like, anybody who speaks about that being seen as an unwelcome member of that social group, basically, or be seen as mentally unhinged. So it's nice nowadays, like you say, that more people are talking about this. Like, it's something I've been getting into the last few years, only because I had a feeling from when I was a kid of this age coming. And my story is a long story, my paranormal adventure, really. But I had this feeling since I was a kid that we are not what we are presented as, basically, that there's more out there. And yet we have this whole thing happening now. So I don't know if you saw, I think yesterday or 2 days ago, Steven Spielberg released the trailer
Yeah, I
for
have not
Disclosure
seen the
Day, I think it was
trailer.
called. But the fact that something like that is being heralded as,
Yeah, I have
at
not
least at
seen
the
the
start of
trailer yet, but
conversation,
it sounds amazing,
it's
right?
shocking. It
I'm a
actually is,
huge
yeah.
Close Encounters fan, so I want to see his new. Yeah,
Yeah, same here.
yeah,
It's good. Like, Spielberg is a great communicator of like human history. So I think, like, for example, I don't know if you've ever watched Schindler's List back in the day. Like, that was his public duty, I believe anyway, to describe the events that happened for people to learn from those mistakes in the future. In the same way that I believe Close Encounters was, it was a test piece, maybe just testing the idea of it being treated a bit more seriously. And in a way, it does seem like this new film is meant to be, okay, now it seems like you're ready and engaged, like we're going to test a bigger introduction to this new concept for other people that aren't really into this kind of thing. So it's exciting that people are talking about that in the public space now, because I've seen CNN talk about the subject as a serious thing rather than a joke, and other channels like the BBC as well. So maybe. But I suppose my question to you is, like, I suppose it'd be to you and N1, really, like, why at this point in human history is this happening? Because this could have happened, say, 1,000 years ago. What's so special about this time for us to be beginning
That is an
to wake
interesting
up?
question. I think maybe the control mechanisms of things like the church or other control mechanisms through the government, where you couldn't do this or you couldn't do that, you couldn't express this, or you could, look at the cath what happened to the Cathars, in France. Like, they were basically
Mm,
eliminated because of their beliefs. And so perhaps now it
mm,
is safe, and
yeah,
there's a lot of people who have a lot of
yeah,
much more. We have a deeper understanding of things. We have with quantum physics, we have the beginnings of the understanding of different dimensions. With things like brain theory, I'm not a scientist. I'm amazed at things like that. I like to read about them, even though I don't have a particularly scientific mind. But so many things you were saying, though, triggered so much.
yeah. Same here.
What you were talking about, that we're able to talk a little more openly now about these topics, such as other dimensions and extraterrestrials and the vastness of the multiverse, things like that. And some people are definitely willing to talk about it. It's when it does come up, I have noticed that a lot of people are also very scared. So when this material started coming through, that
Mm,
ended up in the N1 sessions, I was relieved that it had a reverent and caring and almost monk-like concern attached to it. And that is why I wanted to share it with the world. Part of the reason why I wanted, also the ideas involved, but that's part
mm.
of the reason why I wanted to share it with the world. That there is support. There are great intelligences who respect this planet out there, is what it feels like to me. So I think it's time to embrace that.
Yeah, that's wonderful. It seems like a very peaceful mission, really, because I do feel like there's a narrative going on now and has been, I suppose, for the last few years where
Yeah,
it's the Hollywood stance. It's like Independence Day.
the
It's
aliens.
I
Yeah,
can't really think of another reference at the moment, though, but yeah, it's like Independence Day
yeah, that
perceiving
new alien
any new
series. Yeah,
entities
which
coming to Earth as a threat. I do feel like, in a way, it's like it's them trying to grasp onto us being
yeah.
so scared that we can't look into or learn from those things. So, do you feel like maybe this might change
I
sci-fi for the
I
next
hope it
decade?
does.
Really, maybe we'll
Yeah,
have more positive
I
alien
would love
films,
that.
maybe like ET.
Into not that it's all the roses and sing Polly Wolly Doodle all day in the rest of the universe. I mean, I think there has been conflict, and there has been probably violence on a sophisticated level. But I think it'll be a more interesting conversation if it's the movie is not always about the Earth being invaded and only the most savvy survive. Like that's been played out quite a bit, I think.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see where it evolves and how it changes culture. I mean, I'm a big sci-fi fan. I mean, it's all aspirational, really, in sci-fi. Like, the way we'd hope technology would go in the future, and things that we could do. And it seems to be these things out there have had sci-fi
Yes.
nailed. Many billions of years ago,
Yes.
really. So, our perception of advanced technology. So, with that being said, like in terms of how they communicate, like how do they communicate? Because I know we communicate using sound vibrations through our mouths, through our kind of vocal cords. Like I would imagine that they are far more advanced. Like N1 specifically, like how does N1 communicate? Because I know that he communicates. I don't know if it is a he or she. Do I say
You
he
can
or
call
she though?
N1 a
But
he.
either
Yes,
way,
you
N1
can call him
communicates
a
through
he.
you via kind of a channel.
Well,
But how do they
it's I
actually
do
speak naturally?
as it comes through
Is it
me.
he? Okay, fine.
Yeah, as it comes through
So
me,
so
it
yeah, how
is
do they talk?
for me, channeling is an act of translation because it comes through as an energetic solid almost. This is very abstract to describe, but it almost there's a recent session that I had that it says, "Don't worry about it. The information is coming through like a platonic solid. It already exists, but they communicate it, and I think that they communicate mostly telepathically, so they don't have the same. They seem to, even though some of these beings are
Right.
human, they do have vocal cords. They do have, mouths. They do have certain anatomy that looks like it could be good for speaking, but they probably have options in the ways that they communicate, and there's many more options than we've realized so far. But we also probably have the potential to communicate without speaking, to just sort of transmit our thoughts to one another.
That's where I see there seems to be a link between what we perceive as being the paranormal, as in ghosts and spirits, hauntings and entities like that, and also the other side of it, talking about the old school reference like aliens, UFOs, and things like that. Ultimately, they're points in which you experience other entities, other consciousnesses, whether they be from outside or remaining here, whatever it might be. And I've spoken to many mediums on this podcast who have channeled spirits of people that have passed, spirits from another place. I've known people who've spoken directly to what they would describe as angels. I begin to now merge the two, really. Are angels actually just those entities beyond? Because is an angel just a human word? It's a human descriptor to put onto something that we don't quite fully understand yet. So are we actually speaking to others at higher vibrations and things like that? It's an interesting kind of merger, really. So, I do kind of believe mediums are kind of capable of doing that, and that would say that humans are capable of doing these things that N1 maybe can do. I can imagine N1 has many more years of evolutionary development, I suppose, though. But it does seem like we do, as humans, have the capacity to do what they can do. So in terms of like communicating telepathically and gaining that additional data set. So like, are we really that far removed from
That's
them?
a good point. In a part of the message that was shared in the N1 sessions is that building those skills, it talks about mind-body abilities throughout the whole book. And at the end of the book are 10 exercises to sort of enhance this awareness, just to get it moving, these natural abilities that we have, somatic abilities, the ability to use our ESP, to astral travel, things like that. So this is sort of the invitation, I think. You have to, first of all, recognize, to accept ourselves as we are, to be at peace with ourselves, and also to accept ourselves as interdimensional beings, that we have abilities that because of the powers that be at work on this planet, we just haven't tapped into it yet. But it's now is the time, because all sorts of people are starting to do it, and there's no, knock on wood, there are no real repercussions for using your own natural powers in that way.
Yeah, you would think. I wouldn't imagine you could be arrested for regaining abilities that you previously thought you didn't have anyway. But really, like, I suppose my question to you is like, I suppose the bigger question really is like, and I think it's being partly answered through this conversation, really, is like, how has talking to N1 or communicating with N1 changed your life? Because I know you said before you were going through quite a testing time, and through this initial channeling, you got in contact though. But how has it kind of transformed your life at this point? And where are you headed, essentially? Do you know where you're going?
Right now? But one thing I'll say is that I'm definitely more unfiltered than I have been in the past. I'll just blurt out ideas if they need to be shared. I'll express my truth. I don't care. I guess I have a more mature understanding of social than I did when I was younger. That anytime, that there's no need to feel accepted or not accepted, that we're just here to share with each other. We're just here to inspire each other with ideas and stories and observations. And that you'll be drawn to who you're drawn to. You can let things go. There just isn't as much stigma as there used to be about sharing things like we're talking about right now. And I'm also going through sort of a energetic change, I think, from doing this work, as anyone would do. I think a lot of people have talked about this type of shift, just being open to my intuition more, being open to my own real desires more. I'm traveling internationally more. So I think it's an exciting time. Despite all the challenges going on in the world, I think there's some really exciting things happening out there. So it's sort of like a reset, I guess you'd say.
Yeah. No, I definitely get that. I definitely will relate to that in so many ways, really. I do feel like people are changing. Like, yes, there is the side of things where people are going through that fear response because they're being fed fear ultimately. And, a long time ago, going to talk about medieval times, really, there's a reason why we called it the Dark Ages. So it's dark of in terms of the happiness and joy. Every day was suffering a long time ago, and also darkest in terms of our understanding of life in the universe. We were very much owned by certain manufactured deities, I suppose, back in the day, and now it seems to be we're moving away from that. And I also, just to relate to you, I used to be Catholic growing up. That's how I was raised, and because of a near-death experience, I left that side of things, and doesn't mean I have any bad feelings towards that. It doesn't mean that I think that people shouldn't be religious if they want to. It makes them happy, and if it does no harm to anybody, then please have at it. But now it seems to be like I'm talking to more people on this podcast now who are going through that awareness ascension. And I spoke to Christy on the Fate podcast the other
Oh
day, and
yeah,
she's also
I
talking
spoke to
about
her
the same
yesterday.
kind of change that she's going through and other people are going through. So it's people like Christy, are just one of many people out there who are also spreading the message that other people are also waking up. They're also speaking to other podcasters. And I suppose that's the beauty of YouTube and other channels. It's an opportunity for anybody of any skill level to open up their own channel, to share their view of the world and invite others to start talking more. So in a way, maybe that might be one of the many reasons why they're beginning to communicate with us now, as we can more easily express our truest thoughts without too much interference from other bodies, I suppose. So yeah. With that being said, I know you touched upon kind of technology. Like you saw, you said a circuit board, like a panel, sorry, a dashboard, and you saw aspects of their technology. Like, what is their technology like? Do you know? Like, is it more is it more physical, or is it more kind of, I don't know, metaphysical, I suppose, in terms of like, is it something kind of ethereal, basically? Is it not really based in the physical reality that we know?
Sure thing, yes. It seems to be as described in the material. It seems to be that it is a meeting of the spiritual and the scientific, of the physical and the non physical. And yes, the
Okay.
control board, the machinery, one of the first things I saw and kept seeing, even recently, there was I saw a new image of this, is many different forms of craft that look like flying
Mm.
saucers or spacecrafts or anything. And it does seem that they too are sort of a hybrid of the, which is difficult for us to wrap our mind around, but that they too, the craft is also a combination of energetic and physical machinery, which is, I don't understand that myself, but it is, that seems to be what the quality is. And yes, that they, where these beings, what comes through in the N1 sessions is that their laboratory, so to speak, is in a realm that is mostly in a non-physical realm where they can create with through intention. And they also use things like sacred geometry. They call it crystalline technology to create
Ah, okay.
models, to create ideas, to create projects that then can somehow move down into more physical realms like ours if they want them to. It's kind of mind blowing to me, but just they do describe that in the book. They describe how they work a bit in the book. So yes.
That is fascinating because I know many people today they talk about the concept of manifestation, about positive intent, about sort of thinking positively, and that therefore affects your reality. And I used to laugh at that idea years ago until I began to experiment with it more myself. And you can increase your vibration and therefore change the response the world has to you, I suppose, and then manifest certain opportunities. I do believe that can happen now. It has happened very much to me, and I've had a big mind shift. So that's not really
Hmm.
too, I suppose, pardon the pun, it's not really a universe away in terms of like concept to the idea of them actually manifesting things through, as you say, was it crystalline technology? Again, quite beautiful wording.
Yeah.
I quite like that.
Yeah.
The idea that they can manifest these things literally in their own laboratory to experiment and evolve is it's an interesting kind of thing. So, I mean, I'd love to have a go at this place. This sounds like fun, actually. But okay, that kind of makes
Yeah.
sense, and also
Yeah.
how they actually kind of lower their vibrations to get to our realm as well. So, can we acquire their technology? Is it even physically possible for us to in this realm?
Well, it feels to me that the goal could be more to understand it, because we could take the same concepts and work with them in our way, since we're in a 3D realm. The foundation of our world is a 3D realm, even though it seems that we're becoming more multi-dimensional. But we can take these concepts that they're talking about and sort of translate them and make techniques and ways of thinking and ways of working that could work in our reality. So we almost like we have to put that out up into the higher dimensions and let it, our intentions and our visualizations move up through the higher dimensions and let them spiral and come back. It almost feels like a boomerang to me a little bit.
Yes.
That's just one example of how we could use it in a similar way.
That does make sense, because I've heard a lot about. I don't even know much about Dr. Greer. My opinion of him varies from time to time. Anyway, he seems like he's more believable than I think. What's his real intent?
Me
He varies so
too.
much, but he talks about the idea. Because I used to be like a full believer for a while. Then a while ago, I was thinking, oh, is he really like? Because he says some things that completely contradict what he previously said in terms of like his true intent. But anyway, he's spoken a lot about the idea of essentially technology where you can essentially draw electricity from kind of localized fields. It's kind of like the energy between particles. He calls it 0 point energy. He says basically that's technology that's similar to what other beings use. I mean, to them, to those beings, it's old technology. To us, apparently, we discovered it 100 years ago. I don't know that for sure though. But either way, it seems to be like, if that is indeed the case, even just like a tiny little crumb, I suppose, of that kind of technology could completely transform the way the world works today. Because we talk about global warming, for example, like theoretically that could be cured seemingly almost overnight if we were to derive energy from nothing, hence the 0 point. Really, nothing's going in, but 100% energy is coming out ultimately. So, and I suppose with that being said,
Right.
I mean, maybe it's a big question for you at this point anyway, though, but why do you believe they haven't given us that technology just yet? Can we really be trusted, I suppose, would be the question, really.
Yeah, there might be. It says in the book, it's someplace in the N1 sessions, it said that we cannot reveal the whole story. We're not going to come down in a rainbow spaceship and reveal the whole story and have a party. That this has to be given in doses, or it's almost like our technology that we're using right now was thrust on us too fast. These things, that we're not even managing this yet. So it does feel like it's dangerous if we get too much too soon. But I think it is. Yeah. It feels to me like it's being revealed in explosions right now. That it's really just popping up all over the place. These new ideas, and we have to. This is our show. This is so they're moving. This information is perhaps coming through from higher dimensions. It's coming through star seeds and really smart people here on planet Earth, and that it's our job to sort of piece it all together in a way that creates real solutions and can really address suffering, to end suffering on the planet. So that's I guess that's what we have to be careful with, especially because it does seem like so much inspiration and so much info is coming through so fast right now. And not just through Stephen Greer.
Yeah, I think it seems to be. I think he's been. Apparently, people that I know who've worked with him, he's kind of like a prima donna. Sometimes he likes things to be specifically done, like hotel room at exactly the right temperature. I think if you want to save the world, would you really be that bothered about? That's hence why I kind of question. But who's to say that hasn't been made up? I just don't know. And until I meet him for sure, I can actually, read him myself. Either way, I hope what he's doing is
he's a very smart guy.
He does seem like that, yes. I agree. But I think there are others out there emerging now alongside Greer with the same mission. And there's a whole story about, I would love to discuss about historical contact with UFOs, because there's a lot in our history. I've spoken, I've touched upon the idea about the Knights Templar, who are, in the modern day, they're Freemasons. I don't know if you know that anyway, but about their secret.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
being that contact through Solomon's Temple, and I think the Dead Sea Scrolls, which revealed the Book of Enoch. And I'm not explaining it very well though, because this wasn't really part of my talk though. But yeah, I do believe we've had contact for some time now, and I'm happy to be corrected with new information as time goes by, because I'm still learning. But I suppose, yeah, just to round up this conversation, really, I mean, I could talk to you for days, quite frankly, but I don't think our internet connection could really handle it, really. But so, yeah, as a final message, really, like, from what you think yourself, or from what you've learned through kind of N1's conversations, like, what message would you like to leave to the world, really? Like, do you have a message that you would like to pass forward?
It feels to me that right now, that through this material that became this book, the N1 Sessions, I think that it's that just relax. It's that everything is, we have time, brother, is what the message seems to be. Everything's okay. I'm going to try to trust myself, and hopefully everyone can trust themselves to know that everything is unfolding in a way that is creating more opportunity and more to heal some of these problems that are on the table right now. So I think that simple message is all I can say.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. So we need a bit of positivity nowadays, anyway, because we're so much in a. It's usually a British expression, like in a tiz, and we're all just all over the place. We're worrying about this, worrying about that, and we don't really have an accurate. Yeah, we don't have an accurate view of the world, do we? Though everything made to seem so bad, but there's so much hope out there today. There's hope in terms of the people that we see are changing and evolving, and yeah, some of our leaders aren't particularly great at the moment, but leaders come and go. But people will always be there. People make the earth. People make this place what it's meant to be, really. And there are a lot of good people out there in this world. I've met a few challenging characters over my life so far, but I haven't given up hope. And especially through this podcast right now, I mean, I've met some great people over the last year who've given me a lot of hope for humanity about how we're evolving. So yeah, thank you, Chris, for taking the time tonight. And also importantly, I want to ask you, so where can we find your book? I believe it's being released soon. Is that correct? And also, so where can we find it?
Sure. Yes, I think the official release date is right now is February 1st. You may be able to get the Kindle version right now as well. Yeah. And you can order the book on Amazon, on Barnes & Noble's website, pretty much all the usual suspects where books are sold. And you can also check out my website if you want to. I'm going to be adding some more material there soon, which is berrymanbooks.com.
I'll add the links down below. But this has been a really interesting conversation. I think I've learned a few things, actually, and I don't know, I'd like to meet N1 one day anyway. I don't know if I'll be able to translate the data, but that's ultimately what we are, really. It does seem to be that maybe to them we may look like radios, really, like we're vessels, like we're here just receiving consciousness maybe, but we're also here just receiving data, and just like radios, really, we're receiving a signal, we're communicating or maybe translating those ones and zeros into sound, into consciousness, into knowledge and various things. So yeah, the more time we spend in life trying to learn how to translate that information, the more evolved we seem to get, really, in our understanding and appreciation of each other. So I do kind of believe this kind of contact will lead to a more peaceful world, despite the way things are at the moment. I do believe, the acquisition of knowledge brings peace over time. So it doesn't matter what your beliefs are, where you come from, what color your skin is, what country you're from. At the end of the day, we're all just beings trying to evolve and just live, ultimately. We just need to put down all of our flags and just stand together, really, and, like I say, just learn from each other. So, yeah, no, thank you again, Chris. I hope to have you on again in the future if you'd like to come back, and I have so many more questions to ask you. But yeah, so with that being said, good luck with your release in February. I'm sure it will do very well, and I'm just in the mix of reading your book at the moment as well, though, so I'll let you know my thoughts once I get to the end of it. But so far, it's quite engaging. It's quite a fascinating prospect. The idea of a book ultimately being, channeled through the writer, which is, a consciousness being channeled through the writer to form a book. So, yeah, it's fascinating. So, yeah, all the best of luck to you, and as well as that, happy holidays too. I have to say, it's only like a week away, and happy New Year too.
Thank you. That's really inspiring, Stan. Thanks for having me today.
Appreciate it. You take care.
Giving a voice to the joys, sharing dreams, and blowing off steam. We'll lend you a hand, we'll let you stand, sharing stories about the unknown. Paranormal perspectives, we're here to inspect it. I'm a small, not a medium. Let us escape from this tedium, learning from each other, breaking barriers, a message of hope, birthed from the unknown. Who you gonna call? I'm not a ghostbuster, no proton packs, just crossing streams of knowledge. It's not so scary when things get hairy. It's not the paranormal, just future normal. Breaking barriers, no longer the carrier, releasing the fear and replacing it with knowledge. Understanding each other, we uncover a whole new point of view within you. Paranormal perspectives, we're here to inspect it. I'm a small, not a medium. Let us escape from this tedium, learning from each other, breaking barriers, a message of hope, birthed from the unknown. The only stream we need to cross is the platforms to get the message across. Knowing each other, sister to brother, no ghost or spirit or demon will ever get the better of this medium. Paranormal perspectives, we're here to inspect it. I'm a small, not a medium. Let us escape from this tedium, learning from each other, breaking barriers, a message of hope, birthed